All right, guys, we have Tenley here. You know her from Jake's season of The Bachelor, Bachelor Pad, Bachelor in Paradise. Tenley, thank you so much for coming on She's All Batch.
Thank you for having me. I'm
We're
excited to chat with you.
So, as I said, we first got introduced to you on Jake's season. You got the first impression rose. You were a front runner the entire season. Did you think that you were going to get the ring in the end? Were you the front runner that season, or was there anyone else you viewed as competition?
No, no. 100%. At the point of the proposal, I totally thought it would be me. But the whole season, I kept watching, like, he and Allie had a really strong connection, and Allie and I were really close. And so I just kind of knew what she was sharing with me. Otherwise, I wasn't really listening to the other connections going on and stuff, but I was just like, oh, wow, well, she's really got something going on with him. And then she had shared with me that she wanted to leave because she thought that she needed to put her career first and everything. And then I thought, I think with who's left, I just thought that he and I were the most aligned, and I thought we had a really strong relationship. And so up to on that proposal day, I really truly did think that if we weren't getting engaged, because I told him I didn't need to get engaged, or that I didn't need a proposal, but that my hope was that we would continue on in a relationship. And I thought that that was going to be us. So it's kind of crazy. And then when I watched it back, I was like, oh my goodness, there's so much that I didn't know that you don't see the bonds between other people, and don't even see it all on television either. So
did you think for a second he was going to choose the villain essentially of the season?
No way. I honestly, I don't mean this in a bad way. I just never got to know Vienna, and it's been how many years? Over 10 years ago. I never got to know Vienna at that time. She was somebody who I felt kind of drew in some conflict, and I just preferred to avoid it. And so every time she'd walk into the space, I'd walk away, and I just never got to know her. So what I knew though about her, with that conflict kind of following her, that I didn't think that, I thought, wow, I don't know how it's just the two of us. We couldn't be any more different. So I thought, so I still to this day don't know a ton about her, but yeah.
But I would say you were fairly different. You guys were like polar opposites.
We're pretty different. I mean, they definitely drew on the campaign for all the commercials, or however the previews and stuff. They totally painted us as different pictures. She made fun of me for kind of being a little bit more naive and innocent. I lived some big life things and changes, but I was very naive and pretty innocent. And I had worked at Disney as a Disney princess. And she totally ate that up. We were very different.
Yeah. Well, since you thought that you were going to get the ring that day of the proposal, did him picking Vienna change your opinion of Jake at all?
So here's the truth. Like, in that moment, I just thought he must be pulling a Brad Womack.
So you thought he was going home alone?
I 100% thought he was going home alone. Wow. Because I was so confident in what we had, but also confident in how different Vienna and I were, that if I was there at the end and he and I were aligned in lifestyle or just compatibility, that I thought that there was no way that he was actually that compatible with her. So I just assumed, and I actually, for a couple months, I kind of went home thinking, he could come calling. I assumed the door. I didn't think that he left with her. So it was when I think that was kind of reality. Steve started cracking cases back then. And I was like, what? He's with Vienna?
How long did it take for you to find out? Like, no producer told you?
I don't remember. I feel like I probably should have asked questions, but I didn't. I think I kept saying to my producer, Alon, is he happy? And he's like, yeah, he's happy. And then they were talking to me about Bachelorette and Dancing with Stars and stuff like that. And so they kept me very distracted, but it's funny, I should have asked more questions. But again, at that time, I was so just afraid to push on any doors. I kind of tiptoed, just in my naivety, like just
Yeah.
didn't know very much and how it worked or where I stood in the whole thing.
And you probably wanted to protect your heart too. You don't want to hear about him being happily engaged at that time either.
Sure. I just didn't imagine that that's what I really truly didn't imagine that that's what had happened.
Yeah.
I had assumed he was on his own. And then I had a girlfriend too that was on the show, and she had even like we would chat. And I was such a rule follower too that we had code names for each other just in case the producers had tapped into our phone lines. We were so paranoid. But then we would start talking about like she thought like that she had such a connection with him that he was going to come knocking on her door.
That's
like
Allie, right? Are you talking about Allie?
That one wasn't Allie. That was Catherine. Do you remember Catherine Sherlock? She
yeah, but she wasn't
beautiful blonde Kentucky girl.
She did not have like a connection that you saw on the show. I remember her.
No. But
she
like,
thought she did?
talked about it, and she was so drawn to him. There was something about him that I think even still a couple of years later after that, I think she was still even drawn to who Jake was, even after seeing him on the show. And I think that for myself, I was like, I'm good. Life is good.
So Vienna was the villain in the house, obviously. And there were plenty of group dates that she wasn't on, but she would be the center of conversation, specifically like that stand-up comedy date. Everyone was making jokes about her. Were producers telling you to talk about her?
I think producers quit asking me to do certain things. They just realized that I wasn't going to play the game of like, they feed me something and I would repeat it. And that continued in most of my Bachelor franchise history or career, whatever you want to call it, time on the show. But to where I remember watching it, because I just don't remember it, but feeling how it was edited, feeling really like that hurt, even though she wasn't necessarily my friend or a person that I knew very well. Like I do remember that being kind of painful, but I think the producers probably for sure gave the people the words to use, not necessarily like say this, but like, don't you feel like Vienna, or maybe try your sketch about Vienna or something like that. That's totally how it worked. It's definitely not scripted. That's like still the number one question I always get. It's like, no, not at all, but it's manipulated. It's definitely produced. It's a TV show, but it's very real situations. And still to this day, I wonder if some people are absolute plants. Like, I do not know. Like sometimes I'm like watching the show going, interesting. How can they be okay saying and doing this and treating other people like this? They must be like a paid person. Like,
who do you think was a plant?
Well, just recently, what was that girl? It was
Shanae.
Name Shanae. Like still to this day, I'm like, like for her to even be
say those
that
things,
much of a bully and say those things, but then people bullied her back though, like totally just wrong. It's gotten nasty. I don't like that. But she, with her saying those things and still just kind of living all perky and happy, I'm like, she must be getting paid to be able to just continue to live her life and feel confident, or she just really doesn't care. But
I have a theory though, that they make deals with the producers and then like they give them everything that they want and then they promise them a redemption arc, which sometimes never comes, but people are always like working towards that like redemption arc or like that chance to be considered for a lead or something like that.
To go to paradise? Like, is she? Okay, yeah, she's there. Oh, guys, I can't wait to listen to all. I love your sleuthing.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we'll be back.
Creeping.
Yes, we'll be back talking about all that paradise fun once that comes.
Yeah, but I do think that there's some people that like you said, maybe they give them packages, but I mean, Michelle Money became a friend of mine, and she was somebody who I had watched going, who says that? And I've never actually asked her. Like she redeemed herself in who she was as even just on a personal friend basis. Like, wow, she's such a fun person. She's so sweet. She's so smart. Like, I just have never asked her about it.
I think it's a matter of like them just asking over and over, and you're stuck in a room and you're trying to get out. Like, that's what we're told at least. Like,
I have some stories. I'll tell you a story about that. Like something. So when I was on, Bachelor Pad, it was the first spinoff, and I just remember so badly Kipton, as most people know him, and I had won like a we had won like a game or something, but we were also in a relationship at the time. We're starting a relationship at the time. And the producer said, hey, you guys can go to bed. But first we need this scene. And the scene was, we're in bathing suits, but the scene was that we would be like sitting in a bathtub talking and they wanted us to kiss. And I just felt so uncomfortable. That's not who I am. Like, I didn't really want, I didn't need to put that room well, it was not necessarily romantic, but I didn't want to put that out on television, or like, I was fine with, we were in a relationship kissing him, but I didn't like what it was alluding to. And just my personal choices of how I wanted to live my life, and also how I wanted to be above reproach with like what the viewers were thinking. And I just remember I sat there in the bathtub. We were both like probably cold at this time, like not even touching, like wearing our bathing suits and everything. And the producer said, just kiss and you can go to bed. And that is one of the times that I remember going, all right, whatever. And it wasn't a big deal, not even a big deal. I didn't do anything that broke anybody or hurt anybody or hurt me, but like, it was something that for my own standpoint, where I was trying to hold strong on something, where I finally said, fine, I'll do this. And then there's been small moments like that, but I hardly remember any of them. But that's one of the ones where I was like, fine. Or what moments where I've been tired, when they're like, how did you feel about this? And I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. How did you feel about this? They'll just keep bringing the question back up. And then you finally go, fine, I'll give you what you want me to say, but you're probably not going to like the way I want to say it. So
yeah. Did that scene in the bathtub air, and did they make it look more scandalous than it was?
So that's what I was avoiding, was the scandal part of it. And I don't remember, I don't think it could have even looked scandalous. And I think that also, here's another story that kind of feeds into, probably, I think this is what people want to know, like, because it's, again, not scripted, it is very real, but there are definitely manipulated moments. And for another one was on Bachelor Pad, where I started seeing like, oh, this is how it works. We had some day drinks and stuff, and the producer said, Tenley, you have an interview coming up in like an hour, maybe quit drinking. And then they said, Natalie, she was the one who won on our season of Bachelor Pad, Natalie, you're up for interviews, bring a bottle of wine. So like, they almost protected my character in a sense. And once that was described to me as like how they would lose almost the trust of the audience if people constantly were different. But you brought up the redemption card, so I also don't know, but like I felt almost protected in a sense. So like they quit trying. Like I said, they quit trying with certain things. Like I wasn't going to ever repeat the mean things that they would be like looking for the soundbite for. I'm not that person that was going to give it to them. So they quit trying.
We talk about too, about like how like certain people will play ball with the producers and then kind of maybe get their redemption edit or whatever on the other side. But there's also people that are just like, they're golden people that they protect by all means necessary. And so even if you were to go into like an interview with a bottle of wine and you're just like saying things left and right, if you're one of those protected people, they're not going to air it, because they need to have at least some people from the show coming off like a certain way. You know what I mean?
And I think that like, I'm so grateful, because that is like, I love watching the entertainment side, and I love seeing the people who are balls to the wall, like exactly who they are. But I feel like most of the people that I've watched that have said whatever is on their mind or kind of played ball with the producers, those people are who they are to a T when they're coming off in interviews. But I feel like I probably have more to say than I always said, because I just didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings. But that's who I am. Like, I just didn't want to, at the end of the day, hurt somebody's feelings, but I might've been feeling exactly what those people were saying in the interviews anyway, if that makes sense. So I did feel a little protected in that way, of them not pushing me to go somewhere that I would have ended up feeling really regretful for.
Roslyn was like a huge person on your season, and she's been like, no one's heard from her. We were just talking before this call, Jackie and I, that she's private. Jackie's trying
I requested to follow her on Instagram because I just want to talk to her and see what the deal is.
So you were obviously there firsthand. So for viewers that maybe, or listeners that didn't see this season, Roslyn was accused of hooking up with a producer during Jake's season. She had just gotten a group date rose when this happened, so that made it like 10 times worse. How was it in the house? Like, is there anything behind the scenes you could tell us about the Roslyn situation?
So I have seen her since, but it was still back very close to when we had the airing of our season. And we did like a girls opening day at the Del Mar racetrack, and she flew out and everything. And I kind of got to know her outside of that because it was a very short time. And she'd kind of stuck to herself that I didn't get to know her when we were on the show, but she's really, really sweet. But yeah, she's super private. I have no clue what she's up to or how she's doing. But I do remember, I feel like we asked her, it's so many years ago and I've totally forgotten about it, that I'd feel bad if I said anything like, it doesn't matter. I do remember they had like a relationship, but I remember seeing them sitting on the back. There's these stairs that are never shown on camera, that not the main stairs, but I remember seeing Roslyn and the producer Ryan, I think that was his name, like sitting on the back stairs and like having a little conversation. I thought it was pretty intimate, but you get pretty close to your producers. They just kind of have a way of like invading your life and becoming your best friend, and you become super vulnerable with them. And I would never in my wildest dreams ever think of like anything happening, falling in love type of thing. But I could, when it was announced, like, Roslyn, you need to leave because you have a relationship with so-and-so, I went, oh yeah, I've kind of seen this, but that's all I really ever saw. But I feel like I asked her about it, and I don't remember what exactly happened, but I know that they had something, but I don't know if it was
because she denied it, right?
Yeah, it's
Isn't
Chris Harrison.
denied it then, yeah.
She sweared on her child on TV.
Then
she said that
maybe
nothing ever happened, and everyone was like really shocked by that.
I do believe that there was an emotional relationship with, which in my opinion can be just as much. And if you're there on the show, like, you probably should go if you're going to start like building something else. But also, she seems like a very flirtatious person too. But
I remember what she was accused of, because I remember the Women Tell All, and Jessie, one of the girls, said that like she like got on all fours and said, "Could someone tell my producer that I'm ready for bed? I need to be put to bed." Like, they said that on TV.
That.
Do you remember seeing it happen?
No.
Okay.
See, again, I was so naive. I probably was just like in my own world being like, wow, I'm here. And what am I doing?
Yeah. Jake.
Like, yeah, Jake, I'm here for, somebody to sweep me off my feet. No, I really don't. I remember that. And I was not at the Women Tell All.
Oh, right.
But I remember watching that and going, because a lot of things were new to me too.
There was some drama that came after the season. And how did you react to Jake saying, "Please stop interrupting me" on national television when you almost got engaged to him?
That was when I was just like, well, thank you, Lord, for having a different path for me. And I'm glad he didn't choose me, because it just seemed like, obviously that was not a healthy relationship. And that would have been something that I would have not done well in. Nobody should, but I probably, with the growing that I still had to do in my life, that would have been the worst relationship for me to be in. And I felt bad for Vienna. I felt really sad because it just seemed like a really unhealthy relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I did end up hanging out with Vienna somewhat after that, when she was dating Casey from Allie's season. I don't know if you guys remember all that, but anyways, I kind of got to chat with Vienna for a little bit, and I thought, wow, she's really fun. She's been through a lot, and I don't know much about what she's up to now, but I do remember thinking, are you okay? That was bad.
Did you ask her?
Oh, I totally asked her. I vaguely, this is so many years ago. This is like a decade ago, but I do remember asking her, like, are you okay? Was that all real? And it was very real. And she did tell me that their relationship was super unhealthy. That's kind of the minimum of what I remember of our conversations.
Well, you were pretty close to him too. Did he ever show signs of like acting that way, like red flags before that like end finale of
when I thought back to it? When I saw that, I kind of, all those red flags had kind of bursted up in front of me, like, oh, I guess there
interesting.
were some red flags, like that I did see the way that he kind of stomped around in front of producers and kind of, I don't think he was a kind guy, and I think he was very respectful, and I think we were all drawn to him. I thought he was a very sweet guy, but then there were probably red flags right in front of us, but I just assumed he was the lead. You get aggravated, and I do think that the leads get aggravated, and I think to be a good lead, you have to be able to stomp your feet a little bit and tell them what you want. And so I saw that kind of behavior in front of a kind of like a pouting or stomping of the feet type of.
Was it literally stomping?
I'm remembering like something in St. Lucia and seeing him like kind of, and I probably literally stomping. Yeah. That's just kind of the image that I have in my mind of that memory. Also do remember him talking about something else, like that, just asking me how I felt about strip clubs or something like that. And I was just very put off by his question. And so I didn't think anything of it.
That's so random to ask.
No, and I didn't think anything of it. And I've always still wondered about it. And that kind of popped up into my mind as a red flag. Like, well, if he was asking me about that and I don't think I had the response, I was like, well, I'm not for him and I'm not about him. And my husband will not be going to them. That was, and I had gone through a divorce right before then of somebody being not faithful to me. So that was like out of the question. I was like, why are you asking me about this? Do you not know my story? So I just thought it was really random. And I, again, very naive at that time, that later on when I saw kind of that big explosion happen between him and Vienna, I was like, oh, I just feel like I was really protected. I think that there were red flags. I didn't really know what to look for because I was really trusting him and the process. And I really trusted that the producers also had my best interest in mind, that they were really like cheering me on with this relationship, if that makes sense. I really believed it. And I think that it could have been good, but maybe I think the writing was on the wall right in front of me,
but then he became didn't he do a Chippendales? He was a Chippendales dancer. So maybe that's why he asked you about strip clubs.
Well, that's what I was sure. Like, how does that even come up in conversation? Oh my
gosh, he did.
He did it. I'm showing Tenley and Jackie a picture of Jake in his underwear on the red carpet. Hold on.
Oh my gosh.
I'll just send it to you. The light's not really working, but yeah, he's literally in his underwear on the red carpet.
Respectful of me, and especially like our time in the fantasy suite, because I just assumed we were both aligned. Like I was like, hey, I'm not. And he's like, no, I would never expect you to do anything. And then come to find out, he and Vienna definitely had more of that physical spark, and something that I wasn't willing to do. And so with a guy who was dating other women and that I had barely known. And so there were just a lot of things for me that when I later watched it, I went, oh my gosh, I thought we were so much more, the things that we talked about and communicated, I just thought we were so much more aligned at the time. But I think that there were just different parts of him that I didn't know about. That he was going to be. I would love to see my husband do that.
Chippendales dancer. I mean, maybe we should all. Not everybody, just me. I'd say it's the Jake show. Yeah. You brought up The Bachelorette before and Dancing with the Stars. Mm-hmm. They asked you to do both. Can you? Right? I'm assuming.
So it was more, I've never was asked to do it. It was more like the glimmer that was put in front of me, like these shiny objects. And I definitely thought that they would be super cool. I remember flying home from St. Lucia with one of my, my producers and being kind of sad, but she was like, hey, we were in the airport. Soon you're probably going to be on one of the covers of the magazines. I had not even thought about this, but I just remember, and she's like, and then you'll probably be the Bachelorette, and then you'll probably go on Dancing with the Stars, all of these things. And I'm not saying that, and like, I just feel like it was almost like they put this beautiful platter of something delectable in front of me, and I was like, oh, hey, this isn't too bad. Like, I just had never thought about those things. And then that was probably it for Dancing with the Stars. And then I think Jake soon after was cast in Dancing with the Stars. And then I would say kind of pursued in what I thought was to be, I didn't know this at the time, but there were producers still coming to visit me. I lived in Huntington Beach at the time. Most of them are in LA, and that's about like an hour distance. And they were constantly coming to my house and like calling me and texting me and checking in on me. It definitely is like the way that they continue to pursue you. And they brought up like, how would you feel about Bachelorette? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? I was never asked, but definitely was put like on a tray in front of me in a sense. And then it was my friend Catherine had gone to the Women Tell All because she was part of that. And then she said, hey, Allie got announced as the Bachelorette tonight. And I said, what? Like, I didn't even know that it was off the table for me. So,
wow.
which was fine. Like it was definitely an answer to prayer. I didn't know what to do and I would have been a horrible Bachelorette, but it's definitely no, I don't. I probably wouldn't have known how to, like I said, I think to be a good lead, you have to know what to ask for and to say what you need. And I probably, I don't know.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have known how to do all that.
Do you know? So wait, you were close with Allie though. So she didn't tell you she was offered the role, and then ABC didn't tell you either?
So no, they hadn't told me. And then the producers were seriously like asking, just continuing to make me feel like that was where I was headed. So I was a little thrown off and I was a little disappointed, but Allie didn't tell me because like I said, I was such a rule follower. The big rule that I broke was talking to Catherine, and like we had like code names. Yeah. We were talking about the official things that if we had been tapped into, like we would have been in trouble. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
But I was such a rule follower that no, I saw Allie when she ended up getting, she was getting ready and being groomed to be the Bachelorette, and she was in LA, and we went out one night and she was basically in holding, and she snuck out of her hotel and we went out for dinner and stuff before she went and filmed. And at that point I was totally excited for her and knew that it was the right thing for her. And I had some really cool other gigs that had come up. I was working for E! News as a consultant at the time. It was really cool. Just things that I had never ever thought. Like, remember, I went, this girl that would have never known that all of the things that ended up happening to me were going to happen. So it was just I was enjoying the ride no matter what, but I was a little thrown off that nobody ever said, by the way, we're not thinking about you for Bachelorette anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Was there anyone else besides Allie who was considered for Bachelorette?
I don't think so. And from what I've heard and learned later in life is like a couple of the guys from Allie's season ended up telling me that they were also told that it was most likely going to be me as the Bachelorette. Which I never actually knew that I was that much on the table, because I never went into negotiations or anything, but I don't know that Allie did either. I feel like it was kind of like it happened very quickly. But I think she did know that she was the Bachelorette for like a week, when I thought that a whole week that I didn't know anything about not being the Bachelorette. But again, I was never asked to be it, but some of the guys had told me like, oh, I thought I was going to meet you when I was going on Allie's season. So like Kirk DeWitt. Is that how you say his last name?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know how to say his last name, but he's so cute. I love him.
Oh, he had told me that when I met him in Paradise, he was like, I had been planning on meeting you. I thought you were going to be our Bachelorette. And then, I mean, that was years later that he ended up telling me that. So that was kind of very flattering to hear that. Yeah.
Well, cool. Let's move over to Bachelor in Paradise then, because that's a good segue there. You were like a hot commodity. Off the top of my head, these people were interested in you. You dated Joshua, JJ, Chris Bukowski wanted to date you, Mike Garafolo.
I think that I was only a person up on the playing field because I was one of the only people unattached. And so I think that it kind of helped me feel kind of like the Bachelorette for a hot second.
Yeah, you got to be the Bachelorette after all.
Yeah. So no, it was a really good time, but I did spend like this is going to sound really dramatic, but I spent like maybe 2 hours one day down in Paradise with the therapist in her little bungalow. Cause I was like so broken over it, because I didn't believe that any of those guys I knew in my heart weren't my husband or somebody that I really thought that I would see a long-term relationship with. And I thought maybe it was possible with Joshua just because of certain things, but then there were a lot of things that just weren't working for me, and the whole package wasn't there. But I was like, okay, here I am. What am I doing here? what's this about? Make the most of it. But I was so torn because I can't remember what it came down to. But JJ was like, had become a dear friend of mine, and he continued to be like this dear friend, did not have a romantic connection with him, but I adored him and kind of wanted to go through it in a team mentality, but that's not what the show is about. But I thought, if he stays around, maybe the other guy will come in sometime.
Yeah.
And then I remember Michael, a lot of people he is such a sweet guy, and a lot of people adore him and thought we would have been a good match, but there were just things that I personally on a level was like, nope, that doesn't work with my life. That doesn't work with me. That's not who I am and stuff. And he completely flattered me. He made me feel like a princess. He was a sweet, sweet guy. And I just felt bad, but I knew that we were not compatible in my mind. And then with Joshua, I was like, well, he was the most realistic in my mind of what I could see working, but so I was just really battling like sending somebody home. See, and that's why I would have been a horrible bachelorette if it took me 2 hours to sit like with a therapist over sending 2 guys home and keeping one.
So Mike Garofalo gave you the best nickname ever. And I still think about it every time. Like when I told my husband, I'm like, I'm interviewing Tenley. I'm like, but she's an 11-ly. Does anyone ever call you that anymore? Because it's so cute.
No, but growing up, when my mom was pregnant with my sister, when I was really little, I remember people saying, oh, is your sister's name going to be 11-ly? Yeah.
That's so cute. And he meant it in such a flattering way. Like
I said, he really I felt like a princess to him, how do you say that? Like, how do I say that? He truly made me feel adored. And I think that's really important, but it just didn't go both ways. Like I didn't have the butterflies for him.
There was so much drama on that Paradise season. Well, one, Ashley, I brought her sister. You since you were in the cast, do you have any background information? Like, obviously I know that she brought her sister because she probably was like, I want to bring my sister. And they're like, okay, because you're important enough. We want to do what you want. But like, was there any other background information to that? Because everyone on the beach was like, why I think you even say specifically, you're like, do I get to bring like my cousin? Like, why does she get to bring her sister?
I don't remember. I do remember them. Like, I think they had conversations about potentially being able to have a show someday. So I think that there was almost like some dollar signs, I think, in the negotiations there, but really I think she just asked, can I bring my sister? And they were like,
anything for you, Ashley.
Yeah. And also
when I was saying earlier that like, if you play ball with the producers, they'll kind of like give you what you want. I was specifically, Ashley I has said that in the past too. So I'm sure she had some sort of leverage because she gave them whatever storyline they needed before. Yeah.
She is just brilliant at but at the same time, she's so real. She was,
she's great.
There were moments when I remember when I first met her down at the beach, because I just didn't know her that well at that time. I was like, is she for real? She is so for real. She is so for real, which I thought was really fun. And it's really cool to watch her now being married to Jared and as a mom. So cool.
I know. And I think that's why people were drawn to her, because of her authenticity. Like she really was that.
But I questioned it. Like I was like, wait, how are you this amazing? Like she was actually her own TV show. Like it was like watching the Ashley show and not in a bad way. Like she's very entertaining, just the highs and lows. And I just wanted to get into her mind, because it's like, you're for real.
How did they never get a show? And now that you're saying that, like I loved her sister. Like I loved that whole story, and they have like a podcast and they're hilarious.
Yeah.
Like how did a spinoff never happen? Like that's crazy.
I'm surprised it didn't. Was that when I feel like Ben and Lauren ended up getting like a show somewhere around maybe a year.
Oh yeah, that was a similar time.
I feel like they probably were the spin-offs kind of lost their oomph.
Yeah, because it was Ben and Lauren, and then the twins got one, and then they're like, this isn't working, we're not doing this anymore.
I think that's what it was.
You bring up dollar signs. Since you were a Bachelor veteran, did you get to negotiate a bigger Paradise salary? And again, if you don't want to talk money, we don't have to.
No, I'm totally
we
fine
love
with it.
talking about it.
So no, I'm totally fascinated by it because I do know that there are numbers involved. But again, the first round of everything, I was totally naive to any bit of stipend. Like I did have to ask the first time on The Bachelor, I was like, wait, I don't like, obviously I wasn't getting paid and I knew that. But when I went back home after being gone for like 8 weeks, I was like, I have a mortgage to pay. I've been gone. Can you guys help me? And I think I was pretty much sworn to secrecy, but I think they paid 1 month of my mortgage, which wasn't even like, didn't cover all my bills, obviously, but I think they sent me like a check for a couple $1,000s or whatever, but that's it. And uh, then I did pad and I do remember getting like a stipend, probably something to cover expenses living like once I went back home. But then going on Paradise, and I had kind of heard through the grapevine that you could actually negotiate. And I hadn't ever asked for anything really besides saying, like, I cannot pay my bills. Is there any way you guys can help me back in the day? And then I knew like that they were offering certain people really big dollar signs that I was like, not big, but bigger than I could have ever imagined asking for. And so they asked me about Paradise. Now I'd been out of the picture probably for, let's say 5 years. And then they call me and say, do you want to be on Paradise? And I was like, absolutely. That sounds like a ton of fun. Are you going to pay me? Let's just put out $30,000. They're like, are you serious? Why would you think that you'd get paid that? And I was like, I know you pay people money like that. And they kind of laughed and said, well, you're old news, so I'd just be grateful. And then I ended up like, I think I got a stipend. I was totally just
a stipend of what? What was it?
I think it was like a couple thousand per episode or something like that.
That's a lot.
That's the most
like
we've
higher
heard, right?
Well, and then I was going to go back to the 30,000 number. You saying that you had heard some people were getting that amount. That's the largest amount that
so I don't even know for a fact. So I won't say any names just because I don't want, because I actually don't know for a fact, but people had definitely said, so I said, hey, you take care of my living expenses while I'm gone. And so that was kind of what was negotiated. And so it sounds like I did a good job.
Yeah, you
sounds like I thought
the highest we've heard is like 10,000, right, Stephanie?
Total?
Or 800 a day. Yeah,
800 a day. Well, Katie and I did the math. So Blake Horseman got paid $800 a day in Paradise. Katie Morton got $10,000 a flat fee, but we did the math and Blake actually got 16,000 because $800 a day for how many days he was there was 16,000. So the most we know is Blake based on how long.
I got something per episode, and it was, so I think that was 6 or 8 episodes total or something like that. But I did end up, I guess it sounds like I negotiated pretty good then. Yeah. I actually had some money to be able to live off of that time versus like just covering my expenses while being away. Like I remember coming home and being like, oh, I can breathe, versus all the other times I had gone on the show. I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to live my life? Because I have to get back on top of everything.
That sounds like a lot. Because Katie was saying with the 10,000, once you factor in taxes and stuff, it like barely covers a month or so.
I think I've ended up having a little bit bigger of a check than that, but they probably didn't expect when they negotiated with me that I would last that long again.
Right. That's true. And like, this is season 2 we're talking about, right?
Yes.
So I'm talking about people that came in season 6. So the fact that you were able to do that so early on, were they definitely, what?
Maybe I'm remembering this wrong.
No, I don't know. I'm saying, I think that's great.
I didn't have any money, you guys. I was nannying. I had gone back to school for nutrition. I had just launched my nutrition job or my nutrition business and seeing clients and taking them on. So I do remember it being like a huge blessing, and it felt like just enough, but it was not like it wouldn't be sustainable to live off of if I bounced from that to that. Like if I lived by doing reality TV, like besides the fact that you get brand deals and stuff like that.
I think what we're realizing is like, it is so case by case basis. And I think they prey on the fact that people don't even know how much to ask for or what's like too much. But the reality is like, it's ABC, like no number I think is like actually too much, but they try to make people think that they like can't negotiate.
Well, like I said, I didn't feel like I was the most important person to come on their show. They definitely reminded me that I was old news. I I think it didn't hurt me. No, but I also think that it didn't hurt me that there were some people that were dropping my name in the casting process, that they were casting, that were saying, Tenley's single. I thought she was going to be my bachelorette type of thing. Like, bring her on. I hope I meet Tenley down at the beach. I think that helped me. That probably helped me with the leveraging of going like, okay, I'm really willing. I would have gone. I just needed help making sure that I wasn't going to not be able to pay my bills, you know?
Yeah.
And that's all I cared about. I was excited for the new experience. I had been single for a while, and I was just in a place that I felt even more confident in who I was at that time. When I went on Paradise, it was my most healthy time and my most fun time away, to be able to experience it and take it all in. And it was really like living front row to the show as well. Like I had so much fun.
Do they give you pressure to get engaged because you were one of the final couples?
Oh, I was like, there's no way. Like, but I think that I feel like from what I've learned is Joshua, I don't think he would have ever proposed, but I think he definitely thought that our relationship was way more advanced than I was thinking that it was. So I poor communication on my part in that partnership of like sharing with him where I was at. But I think that the producers definitely were in his ear of like, oh, you guys would just be so great. You should continue this on. And it got to that point where at the end I was like, no, we're not continuing on. Like, I don't feel like we have like that compatible of a relationship here on out. But I liked you. I had fun with you. It was a great summer.
And you got a front row seat to like the craziest Bachelor in Paradise breakup to this day ever, Carly and Kirk.
Oh, that was really heartbreaking to watch. Watching anybody go through a breakup just hurts my stomach because, you know, it's something most everybody experiences, is like that loss of a hope in a relationship. And at that time I was surprised because they were so cute. That was just so, I was mad at Kirk. I was so mad at him. I was just like, what? Like, where'd that come from? You were just so into her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like out of all scenes from the show, that was the most raw and real. And you know, they have used Carly's crying from that breakup in other promos because I'm psycho and I know. And I'm like, that is specifically Carly getting dumped by Kirk. And they've put it in other promos because you can't tell unless you're crazy. Like, you can't tell. And I'm like, nope.
Wait, not for Carly crying though, like using her crying for like other people
for
crying?
Another season. Yeah.
That is insane. Brilliant.
I mean, it is brilliant, but
there's a lot of Bachelor. That's kind of also, yeah, that's weird. That's amazing that they can get away with that.
Oh my God.
That's so funny. And wow, you are definitely a good sleuth because you catch those things. You're a good fan.
Yeah, but nothing happens. I just say it and then like they're like, well, we're still gonna do it. So well, tell us about life now. You're a mom, you're married, you're working. Tell us what you've got going on.
I'd be happy to. I'm watching the monitor right now. I think the baby's about to wake up. So I'll probably just do a short and sweet little version of my life right now. But yeah, I'm married to my husband, Taylor, and I think we just celebrated, 4 years of marriage. And I don't know where, like, even just the 6 years that we've been together, I don't know where that's all gone, but it's just been a lot of fun. And we have our almost 2-year-old daughter, Rel, and she's the sweetest thing in the whole wide world. And she is my besides Taylor too, but she is our number one priority in world right now. We are so head over heels in love with her. I've always loved kids. I always assumed I would be a mom, but I just always thought that I would be such a different mom than I am. Like, she is my whole world. And I've just never understood that when I've watched friends turn into that kind of mom, like just being so absorbed in their child's life. But that is exactly what I've become. So currently, I still work with brand partnerships and stuff, but I am taking a break from my nutrition business and just loving life, just being able to be Rel's mom and sharing with people things that I love, things that work for us as a family. And hopefully my biggest goal on a daily basis is just sharing hopefully joy and hope through the things that I feel like I had such an interesting path to get to where I am here or where I am now. And so my goal at the end of the day is that there's like a little bit of hope and lighten that to other people who are just kind of still like with trying to find their way to what their heart's desires are, So
Love that.
that's my life
It's
as
so
of now,
cool.
and have a good sleeper, but she's probably waking up.
Oh, well, go get her and go take care of her. Thank you so much for taking the time and chatting with us. This has been so fun going down memory lane.
Well, I can seriously chat for a whole other hour. That was really fun for me, especially just like getting to chat with you girls, and it's fun listening to you both, but also just that was a wild blast from the past. Like I said, I feel like there's cobwebs now, like kind of coming out of my brain.
Oh my gosh.
What did we just talk
come
about?
back another time.
Yeah, come back, and like maybe if you're gonna
Love
watch
that.
this upcoming
Yeah.
season, we do recaps.
For
once the-
recaps.
yeah, we would love to have you come back and we can chat about Gabby and Rachel.
Oh, I'm so excited to see how that goes down. And I love watching it.
Yeah.
I watch it with like, I feel like I'm a fan now. I enjoy watching it.
Yay. Okay, well, we'll be in touch then. And then this will
Okay.
come out on Thursday. So I'll send you a link once it's up.
Perfect. Well, thank you for having me. It was so fun chatting with
thank
you
you.
both, and I'll listen soon.
Yay. Okay, nice meeting you. Bye,
Nice
Tenley.
to meet you both. Bye.
Bye.